حضورنا الكريم، تبدأ الآن ثاني جلسات اليوم الأول، والتي تحمل عنوان تطورات الضمان الاجتماعي واتجاهاته في منطقة آسيا والمحيط الهادي. يدير الجلسة والمتحدث الرئيسي سعادة هانس هورست كونكروسكي، أمين عام الجمعية الدولية للضمان الاجتماعي الإيسا. المحاورون الفاضل محمد الطراونة، مساعد مدير المؤسسة للدراسات والمعلومات، المؤسسة العامة للضمان الاجتماعي الأردن. الفاضل عزمان بن عزيز محمد، الرئيس التنفيذي مؤسسة الضمان الاجتماعي ماليزيا. الفاضل كينغ سيك كيم، مدير عام الدائرة الوطنية للمعاشات التقاعدية جمهورية كوريا. الفاضل ديباك كومار، مدير عام مؤسسة موظفي الدولة الهند. الفاضلة تيتوكا تيونتان، الرئيس التنفيذي المؤقت صندوق كيربياس للادخار الكيربياس. فليتفضلوا مشكورين.
Thank you very much. Shukran. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues and friends. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to the Development and Trends session. No, it's there. Developments and Trends, or DT session as we also call it, of the third ESA Regional Social Security Forum for Asia and the Pacific. Let me start by extending our most sincere thanks to our host, the Public Authority for Social Insurance of the Sultanate of Oman, for the warm hospitality and meticulous efforts in creating an exceptional environment for this event. This regional forum is of particular importance for the ESA and the global social security community. We'll be discussing the priority social security issues for no less than 60% of the global population. In addition, Asia and the Pacific is also the region where innovative policies and administrative practices have facilitated tremendous achievements in terms of social security extension in recent years. In fact, most of the global improvement in social security coverage rates is made in Asia and the Pacific. Our Development and Trends session will be an opportunity to take stock of this progress and constitutes an essential element of the regional forum. Based on the report prepared by the ESA Secretariat, you can see it here on the left-hand side, it allows us to discuss the major social security trends in the region and at the same time set the stage for our debates during other sessions of the forum. 3 years ago, when we came together in Seoul for the second ESA Regional Social Security Forum for Asia and the Pacific, we observed important progress towards what the ESA calls dynamic social security and identified major achievements in coverage extension. We agreed that social security systems that focus both on prevention and protection are key investments in people and the human capital of our societies. So how can we characterize social security developments since our last regional forum? Despite considerable diversity in the region, a number of development and trends are common to the majority of the countries. These are outlined in the ESA's report and taken together allow for the general observation that important further progress in social security has been achieved in Asia and the Pacific. This general observation is supported by 3 trends. The first one is remarkable progress in terms of social security coverage extension can be observed, including the broadening of coverage to more branches and better responses to the needs of hard-to-cover groups of the population. Second, significant improvements in governance and performance have been enabled through the commitment of social security institutions to excellence in administration. And third, increased political and public recognition of the positive socio-economic impact of social security has led to strengthened political commitment. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to report on each of the 3 major trends more in detail. First of all, most countries in the region have taken major steps to expand social security coverage based on increased national capacities for financing, designing, and delivering social security. 4 major trends can be observed. The first is that measures are not anymore focused only on increasing the number of covered persons for old age benefits, but also to extend systems to other social security branches. A sea change in health coverage can be observed with a number of countries being close to achieving universal access to prepaid healthcare. Other countries are midway on a promising track and have set themselves ambitious healthcare coverage goals for the next decade. The introduction of maternity and child benefits and new unemployment insurance systems are also particularly noteworthy. Importantly, the trend to more branches is supplemented by the increasing integration of proactive and preventive approaches. A number of institutions have established safety and health at work programs. Preventive healthcare is strengthened to tackle risk factors for chronic diseases. Disability cash benefits are supplemented by a return to work dimension. And recently established unemployment insurance schemes are often accompanied by active labor market measures. The third coverage trend reflects on implicit recognition that economic growth in the region has not been accompanied by a corresponding improvement in the formalization of labor markets. Consequently, coverage extension efforts have increasingly reflected the realities of different hard-to-cover groups in the way the systems are designed, financed, and delivered, including in particular domestic, rural, and migrant workers. Finally, and in line with international policy developments, promoted in particular by the International Labour Office, greater efforts are being placed on supplementing the efforts to extend social insurance schemes by non-contributory social programs for the part of the population that cannot be reached by these schemes yet. In this context, it's encouraging that we can observe measures to avoid inefficiencies and fragmentation through integrated and inclusive social protection floor approaches. Social security institutions have a key role to play in this context and should be at the center of a long-term strategy to extend social security. To better support institutions in this task, the ESA will launch its new guidelines on administrative solutions for extending coverage to difficult-to-cover groups at the World Social Security Forum in a year's time. A special focus of these guidelines is on self-employed, migrant, domestic, as well as agricultural workers. Ladies and gentlemen, excellence in administration is a prerequisite for a successful social security extension. And this brings me to the second trend identified in the ESA report: to support the development of adequate and sustainable coverage for all. An increasingly shared commitment to excellence in social security administration can be observed in Asia and the Pacific, reflected in a broad range of issues. First, extension initiatives and new schemes require significant information and communication efforts and highlight public trust as a key success factor. Greater transparency in management and attempts to improve various aspects of governance can therefore be observed, and considerable efforts are being made to enhance communication and information provision adapted to different audiences. Second, better record keeping, improved compliance, and community-level efforts to improve registration, collection, and benefit delivery point to the increased attention to data integrity and as a basis for efficient and effective administration. More effective interagency coordination and the enhanced use of information and communication technology to manage data and improve access are important means to achieve this objective. Service accessibility and quality constitute a particular challenge for the social security administrations in Asia and the Pacific, not least to the specific geographical characteristics and socio-economic diversity. At different levels of sophistication, a number of institutions have sought the integration of multiple services and enhanced access to digital services with a customer-centric focus. Again, this integration is supported by the innovative use of information and communication technology. A last priority issue has been the question of identification and personal data collection and protection. While in some countries the challenge is to register parts of the population who remain unaccounted for in official government registries and who are most often active in the informal sector, other countries heighten their attention to the importance of identification issues and of protecting data sources and systems from unauthorized access. In this context, let me draw your attention to the ESA Good Practice Awards that showcase the underlying reasons why social security has progressed in Asia and the Pacific. A special ceremony will be held tonight to celebrate the winners of the ESA Award competition and all your relentless efforts to improve your administration for the benefit of the people you serve. Ladies and gentlemen, a third key trend has facilitated the progress that I've outlined. This trend consists of a growing political support to the development of social security systems, rooted in stronger evidence of its positive economic and social impact. Several developments support this trend. First, social security is more widely and better understood as being an investment and not a cost. This is in particular the case as social security systems strengthen their contribution to human capital development, health, training and employment through the increased integration of proactive and preventive measures. Second, social security systems have proven to be essential elements to respond to external shocks and changes, such as economic downturns or natural disasters. In fact, the increasing attention to introducing unemployment benefits is not least due to the negative impact that the absence of such schemes had during the past economic shocks. Social security is also increasingly seen as part of strategic societal efforts to prepare and anticipate future socio-economic changes. One example relates to prevention and active aging policies to reduce the impact of demographic change on economies and labor markets. Another example consists of efforts to extend bilateral and multilateral social security agreements to anticipate even greater migration flows in the future. Based on the positive impact of recent coverage extension efforts, there is now also a better recognition that social security systems have strong multiplier effects in the wider economy. By providing extra income in retirement or support when ill or unemployed, broader access to social security has reduced labor market risks and generated economic opportunities for the wider community. Moreover, owing to their size, stability, and operational efficiency, social security organizations themselves have an inherent potential to make a wider societal impact than other organizations in the national setting. Their actions have an important effect on national economies, and a growing area where this is seen is the investment of reserve or provident fund assets. An increasing focus on socially responsible investment can have direct positive impacts, for example, through investment in infrastructure projects. Strengthened political commitment at national level has also been supported by a more and more favorable international policy context. I have already mentioned the global support for the ILO Social Protection Floor initiative. In addition, the inclusion of social protection as a major element in the newly adapted United Nations Sustainable Development Goals for 2030 will unlock further support for social security development in the region and beyond. To summarize, the three trends of improved coverage extension, increased commitment to excellence in administration, and strengthened recognition of positive impact of social security confirm our general observation that significant progress in social security continues to be achieved in Asia and the Pacific. Interestingly, but not surprisingly, these three trends are closely interlinked and thereby also demonstrate the close integration of social security institutions in the economic and social development of countries in the region. Having a positive social and economic impact necessarily requires high coverage levels because the impacts are greatest for those who are hardest to cover. Clearly, this in turn relies on excellence in administration to ensure that social security is accessible well-governed and trusted, and delivers high-quality services. Ladies and gentlemen, these are exciting times for social security in Asia and the Pacific. Much has been achieved since the ESA published its first report on regional trends back in 2009. The favorable demographic conditions in many developing economies of the region, positive economic growth, strong political will, and administrative innovations have been aligned for an unprecedented development of social security systems in a short time frame. But it's perhaps the next decade which will be crucial for the region's social security administrations in an economic, social, and environmental context that is likely to be complex. Social security systems in Asia and the Pacific face a double challenge consisting of, first, to further consolidate and extend coverage, and second, to ensure sustainability. The population aged 65 and older is at 330 million in the region today and is expected to double in the next 30 years. Demographic aging is accompanied by and interacts with a number of additional social transformations that significantly impact on the need for and sustainability of social security systems. One is urbanization and the related transformation in lifestyles. Another is changes in family structures, including the trend to smaller and more unstable families. A fourth one is migration flows, with increased population mobility at both national, regional, and international levels. And finally, I can mention trends in prevalence of chronic conditions and the increase in related risk factors. To anticipate these challenges and respond appropriately, social security institutions will be more than ever required to innovate and pursue excellence in what they do. In this regard, the ESA guidelines and the services of the ESA Center for Excellence will be of high importance to support good governance and effective and efficient management. Through its new knowledge products and practical services, the ESA is now better placed than ever to become a key partner of each social security institution in Asia and the Pacific in meeting the challenges ahead. I look forward to discussing with you more in detail in the coming days about how we best can assist your institution in achieving your commitment to excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, the three trends I've touched upon, as well as future challenges, will accompany our discussions during all sessions of this regional forum. Our agenda includes a strategic discussion on excellence in administration, and we will showcase good practices by social security institutions in the region in a new and interactive format tomorrow. Coverage and sustainability will be the focus of our debates Wednesday morning, and during the summit, we will have the opportunity to discuss the importance of the role that social security plays for economic and social development of our societies. Let me therefore close by formulating 4 questions which I believe should be at the center of our discussions at this forum, at this session, but also during the entire forum. And these questions are, of course, related to the 3 major trends. So it will be, what have been specific challenges in implementing coverage extension, and what approaches have facilitated progress in reaching different groups of the population? The second is, what have been the administrative approaches and technical innovations that have had most impact on the performance of social security institutions and the successful implementation of social security objectives? The third one that we will address at this session will be, what are the most important positive economic and social impacts of social security, and how do social security systems optimize this impact, for example, through increased attention to prevention and proactive measures? Another more forward-looking question we have to address is, what are appropriate strategies to sustain social security in the region, sustain what has been built up over the past years, in view of demographic changes, urbanization, and other socio-economic developments. Ladies and gentlemen, much of the global improvement in social security is, as I mentioned in my introduction, made in Asia and the Pacific. As our report demonstrates, it's you, the leaders of the region's social security administrations, that have made this progress possible through your innovations and commitment to excellence. Let me congratulate all of you on the progress achieved and invite you to use the unique occasion of the ESA's Regional Forum for Asia and the Pacific, here in the beautiful capital of Muscat, to learn from each other and to discuss the strategy to further extend and sustain social security in the region. Remember, no less than 60% of the world's population will benefit from our discussions. Thank you for your attention. So, now I move my hat and become a moderator. And I have the great pleasure to moderate the discussion on these major trends. And I have with me, as already was introduced, some really outstanding panelists representing the different sub-regions of the Asia Pacific. And I'm very pleased to have with me Mr. Deepak Kumar, Mr. Kyun-Sik Kim, Ms. Tetoka Tionathan, who, by the way, is the first Kiribati citizen to ever visit Oman. Give her a hand for that. We know because the immigration office asked us about what is Kiribati. Now they know, and we are so pleased to have you here after a long, long travel from your beautiful island. So thank you for joining us. Then we have Mr. Mohamed Al-Tarawne from Jordan, and last but not least, Dr. Mohamed Azman from Malaysia. So, as I said, they represent the different regions. 3 of them represent also the host organizations of our regional offices, which I hope you all are familiar with and that are organizing ESA activities in their different sub-regions, and including organizing the workshops of the ESA Center for Excellence. So I'm very grateful to those of you that are hosting offices for your kind support. But now it's time to address the 3 trends. So I will start by asking Mr. Kumar to tell us a bit about, when we talk about extension of coverage by your organization, by acific, which are the main challenges and objectives that you had to formulate? And what, in your view, have been enablers to be successful, or what have been, let's say, obstacles that you have to address in this process? So tell us a bit about the success criteria, and tell us a bit about your experiences in this topic. Well, you can speak just from the microphone here. I think it's easier. So you can relax and join your views. What can you tell us?
First of all, I will, on my behalf and my behalf of the country, I must congratulate the government of Oman for hosting such a prestigious conference here and with such a warm hospitality. As far as India is concerned, first of all, I would like to apprise you of the enormity of the issues. We have got 500 million workers. And out of that 500 million, approximately 400 million workers are in the informal sector, the unorganized sector, which we say. As far as the organized sector is concerned, there are 2 well-set organizations working in our country. One is the Employee Provident Fund Organization, another is Employee State Insurance Corporation. But their scope is also very limited. The organization which I head is Employee State Insurance Corporation. It is covering about 80 million persons only. And the coverage is also limited to a small revenue villages, the area where the industries are located. It's not covering the entire district also. Now the new government, which is in India for last 1.5 years, has launched a new reform agenda for the insurance social security sector. We have termed it as ESIC 2.0, that is second generation reform agenda. The first target is to cover the entire district. Even if a small village is covered, the entire district should be covered. That is the target, and the target date is March 2016. The next target is to cover the entire country. The targeted date is December 2016. So we have put a very big, ambitious target for ourselves. So far as the unorganized sector is concerned, which is a greater task for us, we have launched 3-4 important schemes this year. One is that we are giving unorganized workers cards to every such worker, and we hope to achieve this within a year. We have launched 3 more schemes. One is Atal Pension Yojana in the name of our ex-Prime Minister. It provides for pension for the informal sectors. The second is Prime Minister Life Security Schemes, and the third is Prime Minister Life Insurance Schemes. We have launched a number of schemes, but again the challenges are, one is finance, second is logistical arrangements which we have to make, and third is the structure of the governance. As you know, we have got federal setup there. The health sector is in the list of the federal government. The health facility are to be provided by the federal government. So we have to make a liaison with the federal government, the central government. So these are some of the challenges, but we feel, and we know that the task is very enormous, but I think we are on the right track, and we hope to achieve that. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you very much. Let's give Mr. Kumar a hand for this. Indeed, these are huge figures we're talking about when we talk about India. And I just have a question. What is the government's contribution to these extension plans?
So far as Employee State Insurance Corporation is concerned, government is not contributing anything. It's the employer-employee contribution, just the employer-employee contribution. But in the pension scheme which we provide, the government is contributing.
So this is a very ambitious plan.
Yeah.
And Mr. Kumar has just taken up his position 3 months ago. So he has inherited a fantastic objective, but also a huge responsibility.
Yeah, I know. Thanks.
Thanks
a lot.
But nothing is impossible.
Yeah, I know. I know. Nothing is impossible. We will achieve that.
Exactly. So, and under your leadership, I'm sure you're going to make good progress towards your objectives.
Thank you.
So, let me now go to Republic of Korea. Quite different situation, because you have been working on coverage for many years, and you have extended coverage very well to your population. So what exactly are you addressing in your coverage extension? And why have you initiated these initiatives? And what have been the lessons learned so far?
I'm very honored to speak about our challenge we faced when expanding the coverage. The first challenge we faced was raising public acceptance of the system. To this end, we gradually extend the coverage. So the pension scheme was first applied to business establishments with more than 10 employees in 1988. And then to workplace with 5 or more employees in 1992. And then to rural area in 1995. And finally, self-employed in the urban areas in 1999. The reason the extension of coverage was made first to farmer and fishermen was that because the introducing income protection system was urgent due to the opening of agriculture market after Uruguay Round settlement in 1993. In addition, we set the contribution rate very low compared to the benefits to lessen the financial burden and increased it gradually. So the contribution rate was targeted to meet 9%. And we started from 3% and then increased by 3% every 5 years. and then reach the current level of 9%. Benefits was also designed to provide more to low-income brackets than higher-income earners. Second challenge that we faced was determining eligibility. So the National Pension Service created its own database by receiving information of the employee and the self-employed with income from the National Tax Service and the National Health Insurance Service. And then NPS sends the guidance, notes, and allowed application. As a result, 95% of target submit application within the report period. So the challenge was verifying income to derive a contribution amount. Contribution rate is determined based on the reported income of the employee in the first year. And then it is imposed according to the annual income report of the National Tax Service. As to the self-employed, recognizing the difficulty to track the income of the self-employed, National Pension Service made the estimated income table by area, business type, and size. So the self-employed report their income by referencing this. And we received the income report from the National Tax Service on an annual basis and adjust the income of those who report their income significantly low. And another challenge we had to overcome during the expansion of the scheme was to improve the collection rate. To this end, government provided insurance subsidy to farmers and fishermen within 1/3 of the lowest contribution amount. And then half of the contribution is provided to those who work in the workplace with 5 or less than 5 employees. These groups are hard to cover population group. So this pension contribution subsidy program has assisted 2.6 million employees with approximately $1.1 billion. So about 700,000 employees could enroll in the national pension system. As of our continuous efforts, today around 80% of labor force is covered. And the cumulative collection rate stands at 99% for employee and 90% for the self-employed. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much. And let's also give Mr. Kim a hand, please. So I think these two topics is something that many of you are also facing. We know the issue, for example, here in Oman on self-employed, that there's a voluntary model for self-employed, and you're not yet very happy with the number of uptake. So how have you achieved this very high level of interest in your scheme for the self-employed? You mentioned 90%. Microphone is on.
As my staff will help me to answer your question. Wait a minute, please.
My question is, you have a very high level self-employed now, registered in your scheme. You mentioned 90%. Just how you have achieved it? Just through mandatory system or through voluntary system?
Mandatory system.
Yeah, please.
Through a mandatory system, we attained 90% of contribution rate.
So mandatory system 90%, voluntary system less. No, it's a discussion I think that is going on in many regions. The other issue is, well, how to actually administrate such major improvements in coverage logistically. So I wonder if there are some experiences that our other panelists would like to share on the topic, or if you have another contribution as regards coverage extension that you're burning to share with us, please, if you would like to supplement what our colleagues just have said as regards extension, please. Yes, Mr. Macaroni.
Actually, the extension of coverage is one of the most difficult things you do simply because all social security institutions, usually the coverage starts with the conglomerates, meaning the large corporations, the large institutions, the institutions that have been there for several years. They are well established, they employ several people, they are working in the formal sector. But when you cover all these institutions, you find out that you have a certain percentage, 20, 30, 40% of the people who are mainly working in the informal sector, some people who are unemployed, and you have thousands of micro enterprises that are geographically distributed all over the country. They are hard to reach. And now you start to think, how can you bring these people into under your umbrella and extend the coverage to include everybody?
Yeah.
You really need innovation solutions here. For example, in Jordan, we have like 22 to 25% of our labor force working in the informal sector. Now we are working with the Ministry of Labor on this issue, trying to formalize the informal sector, meaning the people who are in the informal area, we are trying to bring them under the sun, to formalize them, to convince them to have a record with the Ministry of Industry and Trade, and then the next step to bring them under the umbrella of the Social Security Corporation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I wonder, because Malaysia is also very distributed. No? There are lots of different islands, and this issue of reaching groups in such a dispersed environment. What is your experience in SOCSO?
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Han. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Before I go into the Malaysian perspective, I just would like to share, because since we are talking about Asia Pacific, we need to understand that we are very fortunate in this region, because we have the big number of population within this region, which is about 60%. And demographically, we know that about 54% of the population is the ranges between 15 to 64, which we still have the best pyramid if we want to move into the social insurance approach. And we need to understand also that in terms of unemployment rate, we are one of the lowest within this region, which is about 4.6%. So it is way forward if you want to look into the whole process of the social insurance approach. We should really learn on what has been done in some of the developed nations like the European. But if you look at nation perspective, no doubt that we have everything within the Convention 102, if we mention about all the branches of Social Security. But whether the coverage is extended to all the target groups, whether the coverage, we also include the migrant workers, because this is one of the issue in Malaysia, because we have about 3 million migrant workers, or workers which is non-Malaysian resident. So if we want to look into the demographic situation, no doubt that we managed to cover almost about 90% of the total population which need to be covered. But we have previously, before the announcement of recent budget, we have quite a number of workers which is out of the social security coverage because we capped the ceiling of salary. But with the budget announcement, we managed to convince the political master to include everybody when they are in private sector to be covered, but still at contribution of we kept at 4,000. So in terms of coverage, I would say that we have no issue, but we need to look into extension of coverage to other vulnerable group, for example, like informal sector, which is not covered. We have still about 20% of the informal sector. And the other group is the migrant workers, which we also think that they are also workers, they are also part of, workers that contribute to our economy. So this is the situation in Malaysia, which I believe that in quite a number of Asia Pacific countries also have the similar situation.
Okay, thank you very much. You didn't answer my question, but that's okay. So, would you like to add to this, Ms. Sonata?
Yes, thank you. Our major challenge too is the geographical location of our scattered islands. For your information, Kiribati is one of the tiniest islands within the Pacific region, with 33 scattered islands. And the challenge we're facing is trying to capture the members from these outer islands to be part of our system, or to be part of as members of the fund. So we just try and put this on a trial basis, where we establish the KPF agents within these islands to try and disseminate as much as possible the benefits and the usefulness of being a member. Because most of the peoples on these islands, they're mostly consume. They are not encouraged to save. So this is what our challenge is. We're trying to disseminate as much as possible through our KPF agents to do this public awareness. And from our headquarters, we try and do this, promote this awareness to them through radio programs. And that is our major challenge, and we hope that through monitoring, we may see that the increase in voluntary members from our outer islands.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now there are microphones available, and we have a bit of time to discuss on the first topic of coverage extension. Also, if you would like to add with your experience, you are welcome to share to enrich our discussion. There are quite a number of issues on the table. As you can see, it's a very diverse topic, coverage extension, but there are also some commonalities, hard-to-reach groups, talk about informal sector, self-employed, how to motivate them, should it be mandatory, not mandatory. There's a question of reaching out also logistically, how to reach out to people. What about frontline offices? What about using technology? So I think we have heard actually quite some common messages here, but we are very interested in hearing your questions or your comments, so raise your hand and a microphone will come to you. So we have here in the front line our host, breaking the ice. So Mr. Alarami, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary General. It's just also that you have mentioned the Oman experience as a self-employed. A few words from this experience with self-employed. Actually, we have designed the system so that the lower income groups will receive more subsidy from the state as to attract these lower wage effectively to participate in the scheme, because the scheme is voluntary, as I mentioned. Well, the experience shows that still there is slow in the lower will receive higher, and the ones that are in the next income state, they will receive smaller than the ones that before. The second thing is the income fluctuation, because this is a symptom in the self-employed, which is difficult to define exactly how much they receive as an income in the monthly or weekly or whatever. So we use the notional salaries tables. And since it is voluntary, every self-employed will check over this list of income and choose which category is more likely relevant to him or to her, and choose that and participate. But still, the idea is that you need to have some change in the attitude and in the culture of the community, like the subsidies, and it's not enough. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Is there anybody amongst you who has an experience on self-employed where you have been successful in reaching out and covering? Please share it with us. Yeah, Mr. Masaya.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. My name is Masasya from Indonesia. I think I want to share a little bit experience in terms of coverage extension, because there is similarity in terms of geographic area with Kiribati perhaps, or with India in terms of population. Actually, we start to transform social security in Indonesia since 2 years ago. The first important thing for us actually change the paradigm of workers. What do I mean by change the paradigm? From mandatory or legal driven to need driven. So social security program have to be needed by workers, not because the government implementation the law, but this is as a needed program for them. So how to make the social security program as needed by workers, and to make all workers register themselves to be a member? We start what we call as the accessibility. So how to make people easy to access our institution. In terms of hygienist access, I think this is important for, let's say, for India or for Kiribati. Accessibility, what we implement in Indonesia, we divide it into 2 types: physical presence and virtual. Physical presence, we collaborate with other institutions. Let's say banking branches. Around our country, we have a lot of banking branches, and we also use the banking branches as our branches. This is the physical presence approach. The second one is the virtual approach. They can register themselves through mobile phone, for instance, or through ATM and other ICT tools. That's we call to make easiness access for the workers. But even easy for them, they will raise a question: what will they get if they become a member? Then in terms of this one, we call it as benefit. We try to enhance the benefit scheme for them. Previously, the benefit we call just only financial benefit. If they get injury, if they pension, just will get fund. But later on, we try to implement what we call total benefit. So we're shifting from financial benefit to total benefit. What is total benefit? If the workers become the members of social security institution, they will get easiness access to get mortgage, for instance. They will get housing easily. Then they will get access to buy food with the lower price. They will get access to get transportation, public transportation, and so on and so on. So once we're shifting from financial benefit to total benefit, the workers will interested to be the member. This is only some part of the transformation that we have done in Indonesia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very interesting now about how to make social security attractive, not first in 30, 40 years, but even when you become a member. And this is a primary driver, so to say, to see the benefits of being member of a scheme. I think this is a very, very interesting experience. And also this way of trying to extend. What do you think? Have you got some good ideas from this example, Mr. Kumar?
I totally agree with our colleague from Indonesia. There's a question of convincing both the employees as well as the employers also. Employers also think this is a burden on them. And employee also think that it's a salary cut. At the first hand, they said it's a salary cut. They have to be convinced that this is not a salary cut, this is something for the future. And it will be through the accessibility, as he was saying. We have also started using lots of ICT mechanism for publicizing the things, for online registration, for online contributions. But so far as the unorganized sector, the informal sector is concerned, there are other issues also. The issues of identifying them. How to identify them? There are a number of persons which are working in the self-employed category, and it's very difficult to identify them. So that's the issue also there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Is there? Yeah, here in the first row, please. Please raise your arms so I can see you, because it's a bit difficult from the distance. So.
Hello, my name.
Still a couple of minutes for questions, yes, or comments.
Yes, okay.
Please.
Hello, my name is Saeed Kapoor. I'm from the National Social Security Fund of Lebanon.
Yep.
But I will talk about experience not in Lebanon, something I really touched in Jordan. 3 months ago, I was in Jordan in a mission with the EU to do an assessment for the National Aid Fund. It's the same, but they are looking for targeting people. And we mentioned the solution, especially for those far from the offices and they cannot access the distributed offices all over the country. And out of my technical background, I suggested something. And the last week I was there and I saw them deploying such a solution where they did not wait people to come to them, they went to them. How is that? They had a mobile car equipped, and they went to these people and did what the office, regional office or branch do. And they targeted so many people. So I think in so distributed far areas where they cannot reach you, go to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, indeed, the outreach, accessibility, as was mentioned, is extremely important, especially for hard-to-cover groups or collectives. You have not only to convince them, because maybe it's a voluntary concept, but you also have to reach out to them, and you have to, and this in itself can be quite burdensome, depending on your structure. And I think innovation in terms of how we contact and how we reach out is one of the ways forward, and technology, as we have heard, is a key driver there. So with this, is this the last question that somebody's burning to put forward? Yes, in the first row here. If we do it a bit short, so we stay in our schedule, please.
Thank you. Just further to the discussion that the speakers had in terms of the extension coverage, I just want anyone from them to share their experience. If we implement having a foreigners contributors to our fund, will it add value in terms of increasing the fund size? And then the challenge of the paying out in the later stage. If someone can share experience when it is succeed, like increasing the fund size and having the foreign investors will add value to the fund.
Yep.
My question is clear?
I think we have to stop with this one.
I mean, the question is clear.
Okay.
I hope the question is clear.
Yeah, the question is clear.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. So, who would like to answer? Yes, Mr. Adenara. Because it's, I think, a quite important question. So thank you for that.
Well, the more we move to extending coverage, the more we move toward more and more vulnerable groups, meaning we move toward the people who need social protection most. And this is our responsibility, actually. We have to have 100% coverage because the rest, the 10-20% left to extend coverage to, are the people who need social protection the most. And this is our responsibility regardless of the cost and regardless of the party who is going to pay for the cost. In my view, the benefits that are offered by any social security system may not be proportional to the contributions that are paid, meaning that the people who are well off may pay higher contributions and receive less benefits, and the people who are vulnerable with minimal income or low income may pay less contributions, and the rest is financed by the government, and at the end they receive higher benefits.
Thank you. What you did? No. So I think there is it's a very interesting complex of issues related to this, and we will come back. We have the coverage session where we will come back to that. But it's true that right now, for example, in Europe, you know, we have a lot of refugees coming in, and questions are exactly what does it mean to the economy? Does it mean more cost? Is it more? Does the community, so to say, have to cover this? And what we have learned from migration, at least the studies that I have seen, is contrary to the belief that migrants come in order to kind of tap on the national social security benefits and social benefits, so to say. It shows that they are net contributors because they're coming to a country to work, so they build the country, so to say, they contribute to the wealth, the GDP of a country, and they are younger, they are motivated, and you have actually a very productive kind of population coming in. And so the net benefit, because they pay taxes, because they contribute to the systems, so far the studies I have seen is actually positive. But there is this myth, this public belief or fear that this is a burden. And I think we should look also at the informal sector more as the resources they represent and how they contribute to our society, and that formalization in one way or the other can be done also through voluntary and other measures to include them. We have to open the door, and the ESA has published a handbook for the coverage of, amongst others, difficult to cover groups like migrants, domestic workers, rural workers, and as I mentioned, we are now turning them into some guidelines. And we're collecting good practices for that, so if you have some good practice you can share with us so that we really can kind of work against that myth, no? and try to increase the understanding of that every person in society counts and that social protection has to reach everybody. It's a human right, and we have to be part of the delivery of that human right. Okay, with that we go to the second topic. And just to say, the idea of this session is not to give the final answers or the only opportunity for you to discuss. It's only to present the main themes, and we will come back to that both tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, and there will be plenty of opportunity to further discuss. The second topic is that we look into administration and excellence in administration. And I would like to ask Mr. Taravani, what are your main institutional administrative challenges? And what have been the strategies and maybe also technical solutions to address them? You have already mentioned a bit of that, but just could you share with us some of the improvements and what was the background and what have you achieved? Which are the lessons learned? Please.
Actually, I am the Deputy Director of the Social Security Corporation of Jordan. And I handle the technical affairs, meaning the research studies and also the ICT. and my boss is here now, and she is hearing me. We strongly believe that excellence in the administration of social security corporations lies in ICT, information and communication technology, and also in the governance of social security institutions. For example, the excellence in the collection of contributions, for example, depends on information that are collected by other organizations and other institutions. Now, through ICT, we have electronic connections with the municipalities, meaning that each corporation that is licensed by the municipality to do business or to rent an office in any geographic location, they have to have our approval, meaning that this corporation must go to the Social Security Corporation, register there, pay the contributions, make the appropriate coverage of the employees before the municipality can issue them the license. For example, collecting our contributions from the corporations who are behind payment. Now we have electronic connections with the Lands and Survey Department. The corporation, if it owns a real estate, a piece of land, we can put our hands on that property electronically until that corporation comes over and pay the contributions. And now we are in the process of developing our computer systems and software, and also to make connections with all relevant organizations to improve the administration. Administration, both sides, the collection of contributions and also the administration of benefits to our pensioners and beneficiaries. On the governance side, it's a bit more difficult because sometimes it requires certain changes in the legislation. And also we succeeded in that direction. Now we believe we have a strong governance structure, very clear duties for the board of directors, very clear duties for the director general of the institution. We have full separation between the investment side and the insurance side. We believe, actually, that the excellence in the administration of our corporation reflects directly on the extension of coverage. Meaning that if our people, if our population believe in us as a viable institution that is run wisely, then these people start to think that I have to be part of this organization. I have to go and pay my contributions and receive my benefits.
Well, thank you very much indeed. Let's give Mr. Tarame a hand. Public trust is a key word for the success of Social Security. You're quite right. Mr. Jonathan, would you share with us some of your approaches to trying to address some administrative issues in order to improve the services you give and the impact of what you do?
Okay. Thank you. Just let me say a few words before I start. On behalf of my director who is here with me, including the management and board directors for the Kiribati Provident Fund, I would like to first of all thank ASA for the invitation to this event, which provides us an opportunity to share with all of you the current issues and development which is in progress toward managing a better social security in my tiny island, Kiribati. Thank you very much, and thank you very much to the host, which has given us the best service since we came to Omani. Thank you very much. Kiribati Provident Fund is still in the process of improving the administrative approaches, and to note a few, improving on record keeping, because having an integrity data has been a long and continuous issue facing the Kiribati Provident Fund, and still working on improvements from system to system. And now we are working on cleaning the data up to end of this year in order to have the data as correct as possible for better decision making and before migrating data to our new system. For your information, ladies and gentlemen, KPF has a new system which is still under development, and this system is, we don't buy it from the shelf. It's being developed according to our requirements. And this system will be launched in next year, and it's more like a service delivery-based system where functionalities and features are more based on the internal flows of the administrative procedures within our Kiribati Provident Fund, such as the registration of employees, employers, posting of members' contributions and schedules, compliance enforcement flow, withdrawals processing, prompt reporting, financial system integration, and of course the use of ICT in providing the real-time services to members and all stakeholders. But this is still in development process, and we do look forward that this one system will capture most of our internal processes from each divisional perspective of the fund. So at this time, it's too early at this time to talk more on the system, but we are very optimistic that the system will work according to our expectation. Secondly, looking into good governance, KPF is currently working on some of the reform. Firstly, with development of its new system, which is now under progress. And secondly, reviewing of current legislation and policies to ensure that every mechanism of the overall KPF workflow processes are legitimized and proper in areas of the overall administration and investment areas. This is also in the initial stage, and we are working back and forth with the assistance of Asian Development Bank for establishing terms of reference for technical assistance to work with us on these issues. And I think this is what I highlight. There are more, but these are specifically the highlights of the reform based on Kiribati Provident Fund. And thank you very much, and any assistance from our counterparts, we would very much appreciate.
Well, thank you very much. Let's give Ms. Tianana a hand, please. And there are some commonalities, no? Good governance is a kind of key word, and good governance, of course, starts also in looking into the business processes and trying to get them in shape, and the support of ICT,
Yes.
which really works for you and not is just off the shelf and works for the sale, so the big companies, no? That's an important topic. And just to mention to you, we had a conference, ICT conference, where we had a meeting with the ICT industry, and what we are looking into is trying to find whether we can develop common standards for Social Security administration and ICT industry. Because one problem is, of course, also if each time you have to customize it to an individual organization, the development costs are very high.
Yeah, very
So if we can start standardizing our business processes and getting the technology solutions to that, so we can reuse technology,
Yes, that's right.
then we could really make great progress there. So we hope that we can take some important steps there to the next ICT conference. But it was really impressive to hear about the project that you have been running, and we wish you, of course, a lot of good luck, because this is also part of it.
Thank you very much.
So we have some time for questions, and I wondered whether other panelists would like to add maybe some along the same lines. The importance of ICT, the importance of good governance was highlighted here. Is this something you also recognize from your organizations and would like to comment on? Yes, please, Mr. Kumar.
In India, we are using ICT in a very big way in this administration. We have created a portal based on which the inspection schemes are generated. Because now the social security officers, they are not allowed, rather they are given the inspection schedule generated from the ICT setup. And also the registration part, registration of the employees, the contribution, they are all online. So we are minimizing the physical contacts with the administration and the contributors. And I think the past experience of 6 months has said is working very nicely.
Okay, thank you. Another contribution, Mr. Azman, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Hans. I believe, as mentioned by some of our colleagues here, that ICT is very important, because I think we have good information technology. We can be more reactive. Today, no doubt that the way that we approach, we try to change the attitude of, I would call that, the staff who manage the compensation to be more reactive rather than, to be more proactive rather than reactive. So with the information technology, we hope that if we can look into the integration with other authority. For example, a simple example that today we have to go through the report within the media, and we try to approach to help the insured person to get their benefit. But if we have good ICT system, which in the pipeline that we plan to be actually in the development of getting the integration with the National Registry Department. Yep. If that happen, immediately tomorrow we will receive the information and we can just cross-check with our contribution, the eligibility, and instead of waiting for them to come, which all this while we are reactive, so we can be very proactive. Immediately we can prepare the funeral benefit, and we can prepare, for example, the survivor's pension benefit to those families who need the compensation, instead of waiting for years. And some of them, they are even not aware that they can get the benefit. Yep. Is within the social security coverage. So this is some of the areas which, there's a lot of other areas that we can improve. Even integration with the registration of company. That is also, one way that we are looking into how we can help the compliance rate. Today, as I mentioned earlier, about 10% of the companies or industries, they never register. So by having this integration, once they register with the registration of company or society, we will get the information by next day, and this is how the letter will be auto-generated to send to the new company that, look, this is the law that you have to register, and this is one way to get the compliance to be better. So this is some of the areas which in the pipeline we hope we can immediately get the system up and we can look into the compliance. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. No doubt data exchange also between different public bodies can be of great value to deliver the right service to the right people, but also in order to get the contributions from those that should contribute. And that's also as regards small and medium-sized enterprise and others. So thank you very much. Would you like to add to this also, Mr. Kim, to the question of administrative tools and ICT, information communication technology? What role does it play in your fund?
We could have fixed and overcome the challenges that we faced when extending the coverage. Without a good IT system, there is no way to fix to collect the contribution amount and administer the beneficiary, especially the pension beneficiary. In Korea, one of the families reported their death to administrative office, and then the administrative office transferred the record to pension, National Pension Service. So we could terminate the pension, paying the pension amount. So the good IT system is very essential to implementing and expand the pension system.
Yeah, thank you very much. So the floor is open again, also to you to share your views on the importance of administrative solutions and what works and what are your experiences, but also if you have any question to the presenter. Here in the first row, is a gentleman, right in the middle.
Thank you very much. Ishaq Al-Ma'ouli from Public Authority for Social Insurance, the Investment Department. My question is to Mohammed Tarawna from Jordan. He mentioned, and we are pleased to hear that they have a strong governance. So I'd like to ask how to judge if the pension fund, they have really a strong governance, and is there any certification you obtained to say that we are in a position to say that we are in a strong governance? This is my first question. And the second question, it can be for any of the panelists, is that what are the challenges you might face to have really a great and a good governance? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sure our president is very interested in that now, because he has always been a defender and a promoter of good governance in the system. So he will like your questions, no doubt. So, but we have a question to you, Mr. Al-Tarane, please.
Well, governance is a big issue, but I am a strong supporter of the ESA guidelines on governance. And there are a full set of governance guidelines and another set on the ESA investment guidelines. And the investment guidelines, I had the pleasure of developing the technical material for a full course teaching those guidelines. What I am trying to say here, because governance is a big issue and all our institutions believe, each one of us believe that we have good governance. If we have differences in governance, then obviously each one of us does not have good governance. If we have the perfect governance, then we should reach a common ground. I may not agree with the ESA guidelines on good governance fully. I may agree with them 90%, but I believe that all our institutions need a common ground for good governance. So if we all of us implement those guidelines, then I believe we can agree on what we call good governance. I believe all our institutions should start to do that. We did it at the Social Security Corporation of Jordan. I can't claim that we are fully compliant, but with comfort I can say we are at least 90% compliant.
Well, thank you very much. And now the President is even more happy because he was, those days, he was chair of the technical commission that was leading the work on the good governance guidelines, which were launched in 2010 in Cape Town. So in fact, we have tried to establish a system of, you could say, design of a good governance system, both for the boards and for the management of a social security organization that can be a kind of reference for assessing your own governance And then it's not necessary that you agree 100%. That's not the idea with it. They're not mandatory, they're not prescriptive, but it's a way of mirroring your own system and seeing where could there be an improvement potential, because every member of the ESA has a good governance system in place. The question is just how good is it if you compare it to an international reference. And with the guidelines that were produced under the chairmanship of our president, we actually have now a good tool there. But you had a question, and I will of course pass it on to my colleagues here. Do you have any, as regards your good governance system, do you have a piece of advice or a recommendation to give to our colleague from your own system? What has been, let's say, is for you maybe the most important aspect in your governance system that you think is critical to the success of your organization? Is there any single element? Let's start from the right and then we go all the way through. So, Mr.
Challenges to this social security administrations, it will vary from country to country. In our country, what we feel is the enormity of the task is a challenge for us. How to handle such a large uncovered population, how to extend that. That's the issue in our country.
Yeah.
But it will vary, obviously it will vary from other country to country.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kim?
Nowadays, there is a lot of controversy on the fund governance of National Pension Service, which has grown to be the world's third largest pension fund, about $500 billion. And recently, the overseas public pension fund has gained more higher returns by actively investing in the risky asset, such as the equity or alternative investments. So some people, the National Pension Service followed those cases to enhance the return on the investment. So they also argued to turn in the investment office, a fund investment office under the National Pension Service into a separate corporation. But I think if we turn into the fund of investment office into a separate operation, they'll pay more attention to the short-term performance and by excessive risk taking. Yes. So that's the question that we are faced nowadays.
Thank you very much indeed. Anyone wants to add to governance? What's your, let's say, the single point where you think is really critical to the governance of your organization?
Yeah, like India said, there's a different governance in every institution. And in my case, it's just the same, but we have governance for board composition. But what is more important is the updates in all our legislations and policies to ensure that we work according to this legislation and policies. That's in my case, and we're still working on it in improving all this so that we compact all the governance in our flows, in our work procedures.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is work in progress.
Yes.
Mr. Asman, Dr. Asman?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Hans. I think no doubt that we all know that most of the organization, the governance is there. Whether we implement the rules and regulation and we run the organization according to the requirement, is that done, or is there any loophole in between what we do? That's important. So for me, what we need for good governance, we need to have strong internal audit within the organization. And also, we have to make sure that whatever finding from the external audit, we improve, because we just need to improve the governance that we have. For example, in Malaysia, external auditor will do audit every year. And if anything, any finding which we think that action need to be taken and we need to improve, we have to face the Public Account Committee in Parliament. and we also have town hall session with the media. So this is some of the areas that I think that we can look into how we can continue to improve the governance. And recently within organization, we just create another department we call integrity to look into the governance of the organization. If not in place, then what else we need to do and also to improve. So this is some of the areas of governance that we do in Malaysia.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, governance has to be audited as well. I recall I was once in Korea visiting one of our members, and this was a very bad timing because this was the time where parliamentary delegations were auditing the public institutions, including the services. And so everybody was very, very much involved in explaining to these parliamentarian audits how their systems were working. And this was taken very, very serious, and the media followed that process. So there's a lot of limelight on our institutions, the governance. It has to be transparent and public control, so to say, which is fair enough as it is. So I think we have time for another question. This was a very good one. Thank you very much. So I will go to the left-hand side first. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Faris from PASI, Public Authority for Social Insurance, Oman. Actually, I don't have a question. I have only just a comment regarding the question of my colleague Ishaq and the answer of Mr. Mohammed Traune from Jordan. Actually, best practices is a customized issue. It couldn't be able to be applied in all countries and all markets in the same level or the same degree of application. Actually, it depends on a lot of factors like economic, political, and social factors that will make a differences between applying the best practices in this country or that one. Okay, this only just to say that there are not 100% applying for the best practices in all markets and all countries, but nevertheless, benchmarking and exchanging the ideas and the experience is very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. And the last intervention to this topic is here in the front.
Thank you, everybody. You asked the panelists as one single source of governance if they have one word. I was very surprised none of them mentioned the board of directors. I truly believe there is no governance if there is no proper structure of board of directors. And unfortunately, in my experience, I see that the biggest weaknesses in proper governance, because most of the boards are either politically appointed or representing the workforce, but they are not really properly fit and proper to represent them, to challenge the management. And a lot of social security don't answer to anybody. There is not, in many, many countries, there is no regulatory regimes that overlook social securities or even occupation pension schemes like what we know in Europe or something else. So the absence in the regulation, proper regulatory regime, and the structure of the boards, and also the political appointments of managing directors, that will put a very weak governance of Social Security, because the managing director realizes he doesn't even answer to the board because he is appointed by the president of the country or appointed by the cabinet. So these are the weaknesses, I believe, in proper governance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for sharing your experience. And indeed, it's true that good governance has to address both the board and the management of the organization. And in the ESA guidelines, there's exactly this distribution, and there's quite a number of guidelines that are devoted to enhancing, let's say, the qualifications and the role of the board. There's time for a short comment to here on the right-hand side from Lebanon, please.
Sorry, unfortunately, most of the countries or administrations doesn't know what does the word governance is. Nobody, it needs a lot of awareness for those who doesn't know what's, don't ask people to do governance and they don't know what it is. So a lot of awareness, a lot of interfere from the ESA towards these institutes. I can say somewhere, we are these people. Our region is full of these people who doesn't know what governance is. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And once again, I can say, yes, fortunately, we have defined governance through our membership. We've taken best practice from our membership, and we have developed guidelines, and we also have training. So one opportunity is if you, for example, in your country, the Social Security administrations would like to enhance the understanding of governance amongst your board, amongst your management, we can even organize together with you customized training on these guidelines, so that because there is a commonly accepted definition and all the details are very well laid out in 83 guidelines, and I really invite you to have a look at them and to start the discussion, because good governance is really the roof over our organizations, and without that roof we are vulnerable in terms of most of our business processes. Then we have these close links to ICT, we have the close links to others, to contribution collection and other areas, and investments and so on, but we really, the governance part is critical to the success of our administrations. And thank you for contributing to this discussion. Again, we will come back to that tomorrow, in particular when we look into the good practices. So the third and final topic I would like to address has to do with how do we ensure actually that our systems become more sustainable. And sustainability is one of the critical topics we are discussing all over. Can be because of demographic change that our labor markets develop. It can be because of this new wave of chronic conditions, of chronic diseases that are putting pressure on our health systems. There can be many issues. And therefore, we believe that proactive preventive approaches to social security have to be part and parcel of addressing these aspects now and the future. And also in the region, as I mentioned in my introduction, we have seen quite a number of these new approaches. And I would like to ask Dr. Azman if you could kind of say, because you, your organization, SOCSO in Malaysia, you have taken some important steps towards return to work, towards prevention and so on. What was the reason for that, and why do you believe that this is so important? Because I know you have personally engaged yourself deeply into that process over the past years, and can you just tell us a bit your story of return to work and prevention in Malaysia in 5 minutes?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hans. I think we need to understand that when we talk about social insurance, the primary aim is not about compensation. This is what our understanding all this while, and even this is the understanding of what in Malaysia, I think for probably 5 years ago, they believe that their role is just to look at if accident happen or if disease happen, we are here to compensate. And this is not so. If we look at the social security in total. So that is where we've actually moved from being a compensation-based organization to look into, first, we are looking at how we can prevent accident and disease. I think this should be our first aim, our first goal. But if still accident happen, how we want to get the workers to be back to reintegrate them to the society, or in other words, to get them to return to work. So this is also another areas that we've actually engaged with the stakeholders to get them to understand and also get them to be in line with what we believe should be as a social security practitioner. And if accident, for example, if we look at the accident and also disease, from Malaysia perspective, we can see that on disease itself, for last 10 years, in terms of non-communicable disease, increased by almost about 90%. That means every day, about 40 of the workers, either they die or they become disabled because of non-communicable disease. So we also we move into, previously just looking into prevention of accident, we look into how we can also look into prevention of non-communicable disease. So we have started the health screening program, since 2013, to intervene, to detect those workers with non-communicable disease or with risk of non-communicable disease as early as possible and get them to go through the system to get treatment before they move into disability or they move into death happen. So this is some of the areas, as I mentioned, that our primary goal in social security, first we should prevent. If we can prevent accident, we can prevent disease, that is ultimate. That is, the first thing that we need to do. But if still accident happen or disease happen, the next thing we need to look into how we can improve them in terms of get them to go through the process of rehabilitation, either primary or secondary, either physical or vocational, and get them to go back to work. If worst scenario, get them to go back to life, to be part of the society. So this is what we have been doing in Malaysia, looking into the holistic approach of social security. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and let's give Dr. Azman a hand for this presentation also. And I wonder, because one of our arguments and the trends we identify is that there is now a better understanding of that investing in social security in the way you describe also brings about socio-economic impacts. Have you had a look at what the socio-economic impact of your work is? You have already mentioned as regards the persons, bringing them back instead of losing their workforce or even losing them whole. But have you had a look at the impacts?
Yeah, I would share here, in terms of the impact, in terms of quantitative and qualitative. If we are looking at, the understanding of looking at investment, probably we have some accountants here which only look at dollar and cent. I would say that, from what we have done, studied to look into investment of this return to work program, if we compare one-to-one, $1 that we spend, or 1 rial, for example, in Oman, 1 rial that we spend, our return is 1.6. That means that is the quantitative. But for me, quantitative is not so important. We have looked into the qualitative, the self-esteem, in terms of the psychosocial impact, the depression, the anxiety, and also a lot of other impact to the workers. We can see that the positive outcome of the qualitative. We have done study. We have, in fact, I've shared this quite number of papers internationally in terms of the outcome of the investment, even in prevention and also in this return to work, to the organization, to the government, and also to the insured person. So this is some of the outcome that we have that we can share with other countries if they want to move into the areas of prevention and also return to work.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Azman, and you are going to explain a bit more tomorrow during the parallel sessions now about your experience. So I would like to ask also again, do you have any kind of cases where you can say, here we can see that investing in social security brings about a positive return, quantitative, qualitative, socio-economic, as we call it. Can you contribute to that? Have you, because I take it that expenditure is always questioned, especially if you do new aspects, if you, for example, go into prevention, if you go into proactive, preventive measures, there's also a question, we haven't done this before, why should we invest here? So I take it you are, in a way, faced with that as well when you introduce these kind of measures. So could you share with us any experiences in this respect, or should I go to the audience? I go to the audience. So, as we understand, we are still in early days as regards these aspects, but is there anybody in the audience who would like to share their experience on socio-economic impact on your programs and the focus you have given to being more proactive, more preventive? I know that in Saudi Arabia you're also looking now into return to work programs. So what convinced you to start looking into return to work programs? Please give the microphone to our colleague here in front.
Yes, it is what the gentleman just mentioned, that it's not really about quantitative benefits, how much you save or how much you disperse. It's about really the quality of life. Our ultimate objective is to maintain quality of life for our participants. And studies show that actually working is one of the better contributors to psychological stability. Disability or being out of work creates more emotional problems in addition to the physical problems. Now, our program is just in the thinking process, and we are trying to design an approach to it, but it's a major focus, it's a major objective, and if we did not feel that the merits were there, we would not undertake it, because it's not a simple undertaking.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your motivation to go into this more proactive preventive measures. Is there anybody else who would like to add to this discussion? Don't be shy. This is your last opportunity because we have another 10 minutes for exchange. Okay, so the panel here changed the mind. So, please, Dr. Al-Taran.
Well, the positive social and economic impacts of social security institutions is very well documented in the literature, actually. Social protection prevents poverty in young age and in old age. So the social security institution that covers the disability, death, either accidental or natural death, that covers disability, total disability or partial disability, the institution that covers the risk of unemployment, that covers maternity, that offers child protection expenses. This is a protection during young age. The old age pension, either the yearly pension or the old age pension, it's the covering the risk at older age. Both sides are very important. We prevent people from falling into poverty. We don't want people to fall into poverty, and this is well documented that social security institutions, by their essence, they were created to prevent people from falling into poverty. The economic benefits are huge. We encourage people to save. We accumulate reserve funds. We invest them in our economy, in infrastructure projects, in financial projects, you name it. We create jobs for people. So there are important economic impacts of social security funds. How much we realize those benefits, the social ones and the economic ones, differs from one country to another. For example, in the Canadian pension plan, they have a reserve fund that exceeds $600 billion. The rate of return on that fund exceeds 10–11% annually over the last several years. They create hundreds of thousands of jobs annually through the projects they invest in. Even in the third world countries, like my country, for example, there are very obvious social and economic benefits. They are may not be adequate in my personal views, but at least they are better than nothing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Al-Tarawni, Director of Research and Studies. This was obvious, I think, no? Thank you very much for sharing these insights with us. And again, we will discuss more about proactive preventive measures and discuss a bit the socio-economic impact. But now I would like to do a quick kind of voting, because we have touched upon 3 topics: on coverage, on administrative improvements, and on proactive measures and socioeconomic impact. So please raise your hand. Question number 1, if you are involved in activities related to coverage extension. So all those of you that are involved in activities related to coverage extension, please raise your hands. You can see, yeah, raise your hands. So as we can see, there is quite a number involved in coverage extension. Secondly, if we ask about who of you, which institutions, the institutions you represent, of course, are involved in administrative improvements. So, administrative improvements, and more hands are raised. Yeah, there seems to be, yes. Yeah, we can see this is really something even more in common than coverage. And now the last question. Raise your hands if you or your organization are involved in developing more proactive preventive measures in your organizations. So let's see there. Yes. Yeah. So a clear ranking. Number 1 is administrative improvement. Number 2 is coverage extension. And number 3 is proactive preventive, which means we have to, tomorrow I think it will be very exciting for you, because you will have a lot of demonstration projects, good practice cases, to motivate all 3 areas. With this, I will come to the conclusion of this session. And I would like to say that I think we have all witnessed an excellent opening, so to say, of the technical part of the forum. The session and the interventions of our panelists in particular have shown, in my view, how dynamic the region is, and how dynamic social security organizations the regions are. And please join me and in a round of applause for our panelists, our distinguished panelists. Extension of coverage, administrative innovation, and strengthened impact of social security are key themes across the region. We saw with a variation in terms of intensity. And what has been indicated at earlier ESA forums is now clearly confirmed, that social security has become a key pillar in the development of our societies. Coverage rates in many countries in the most populous region in the world are well over 50% of the population and increasing. There's still a way to go, but your involvement in coverage extension activities and the new global goals, I think, will help us tremendously to work into that direction. Our discussion has also shown that many challenges remain, and are actually quite alike, if you saw the discussion, no? Representing very different regions, but we had quite a number of common issues, in particular when we talked about, for example, administrative issues, governance issues, ICT issues, and so on, outreach, which means that that we really can benefit from learning from each other, listening to each other, and then try to see how we can improve our systems accordingly. We discussed in particular, I think, and that's not surprising, are the difficult to cover groups. Talked, I think, still a big challenge for us as the informal sector, but also geographical outreach, convincing also groups that self-employed who currently are not covered in most countries by mandatory approaches, but by more voluntary, to convince them. And I think we had some very interesting contributions also from the floor towards how this process of convincing people about the benefits of social security, both in the long term but also in the short term, have been given. So therefore I would like you to join me also in giving an applause to everybody who has contributed to the discussion. So we have confirmed the need for a strengthened investment in a broader social security that not only provides cash benefits in case of need, but also invest in the prevention and promotion of activity, keeping people employed. As we say, work is the best social security. And it struck me that there was this common approach towards being excluded from the labor market. Brings about a lot of challenges, not just financial and economic, but also mental health strains, and affects the quality of life of citizens, their families, and this is something that really should be an obligation for us to address. What can be the solutions to often common challenges in the absence of comparable institutions at national level? Looking abroad is a crucial means for social security institutions to identify innovations, learn about good practice and exchange experience, just as we have done. And it's our role at the ESA to facilitate exactly this process. And this is why I look very much forward to seeing you tonight for the award ceremony of the ESA Good Practice Award competition. So very exciting, 48 winners of our competition, a fantastic result, as I will come back to later tonight. So we will learn a lot about this, and we will celebrate also the achievements of the region in terms of improving exactly the topics we have addressed. We will also then tomorrow for the Excellence Day, where we will see many interventions on good practice in the region. So it's a new concept. We run with parallel sessions. So it's really about also involving you in those discussions. I think we have some excellent presenters there. So it's a great opportunity exactly for this learning process. And as our member service has shown, this member-to-member exchange is still the most highest valued activity of the ESA, that ESA offers this opportunity to talk to peers. So this is a great opportunity for you, not just today in this plenary, which is a bit more difficult in terms of format, but tomorrow we will provide you with a lot of opportunity for a one-to-one talk. So there are many opportunities to achieve what we need and want to. And so with this, I would like to thank once again the panelists, thank all of you for your patience, for your activity, and with this I give the floor over to the announcement of the evening and what's going to happen after this.
Just a minute here. A good round of applause for the moderator also. He has done a very wonderful job.
Okay, thank you.
نشكر متحدثي جلسة تطورات الضمان الاجتماعي واتجاهاته في منطقة آسيا والمحيط الهادي. ونود إحاطة عنايتكم بأن حفل توزيع جائزة الإيسا للممارسة الجيدة لمنطقة آسيا والمحيط الهادي سيكون في تمام الساعة 7 مساء من هذا اليوم، وسيلي ذلك فعالية الليلة العمانية للضيوف المدعوين من خارج السلطنة في حديقة فندق قصر البستان في تمام الساعة 8 مساء، وستجدون بطاقة الدعوة ضمن محتويات الحقيبة، علما بأنه سيتم توفير حافلات لنقل المشاركين مقابل قاعة مجان إلى الموقع. للاستفسار عن خدمة نقل المقيمين خارج فندق قصر البستان يرجى التوجه إلى ركن التسجيل. Announcement. We would like to inform you that the ceremony of the ESA Good Practice Award for Asia and the Pacific will be held at 7 p.m. today. It will be followed by an Omani evening for the international participants in the garden of the Bustan Palace. At 8 p.m., you will find the invitation card inside the bags you received at registration. Please note that buses will transport you from here to the venue. If you are staying at other hotels, please contact the registration desk for more information. Thank you.